Today I want to follow up a little bit on something that I tried over the last couple months, and it comes from a video that I did a while back where I was telling you how to maybe save a few dollars on your cabinet glass. And what I said in that video was that instead of using one piece of 1/4 inch glass, I used 2 pieces of 1/8 inch thickness glass, and then as the inner piece gets clouded over, frosted, then I just take that piece out and replace it with another new one. And then that saves money because you're not spending money on a full piece of 1/4 inch glass. And it works pretty well for me. It's cut my costs down. In the comments, a couple people said that they used window screen, fly screen, whatever you want to call it, to protect their glass from getting frosted. Now, I wasn't really sure how that worked. I hadn't heard of that before. And so I got to thinking about it for a few minutes, and I thought, well, how would screen stop small particles from just flying through? But what I realized is it's probably the same effect as you have with a snow fence, and that is whenever you have an airstream that's going fast enough, it'll hold particles in it. Like with a snow fence, fast moving air will hold a lot of snow, but as it goes through a snow fence, it's just full of small holes, it causes a huge amount of drag, and the drag slows down the air. As soon as the air slows down, then the snowflakes fall out and fall on the ground. That's how a snow fence works. I know that for certain. So I got to thinking that that's probably how this works. The screen, even though particles can freely go through it, there's so much drag with all these thousands of wires that when the air goes through it, it slows down because of the high amount of drag. And when it slows down, the particles either slow down or start to fall out completely, or just slow down to the point where they don't hurt the glass. So it is effective for keeping your glass from getting clouded by etching, by erosion. So, but there are some downsides. I've been doing this now for, I don't know exactly now. I've had this screen in here maybe 2 or 3 months. And you notice I only have half a screen here. At the beginning, I had this entire thing screened over. And you can see how it's a little bit darker here on the right than it is the left. So when I had the screen on the left side, of course, my glass wasn't getting clouded over. But if you have experience with sandblasting, you know that dust tends to start to get on the inside of your window, and you need to wipe it off periodically. Well, when you have screen there, you really can't do that unless you have a blower nozzle, or like a blowgun inside the cabinet where you can blow off that window. So it's not that big of a deal. That's particularly important with aluminum oxide, because aluminum oxide sticks to absolutely everything because it's electrostatic. But that's not the biggest issue I had with this screen. Now, right now you can see through here fairly well, but what I found is whenever I was blasting, is this screen, and this gets clouded up in here because you always end up getting dust as the dust collector is working to remove it from the cabinet. That the screen, I don't know why it is, but it reduces the contrast of your parts. Now, so in other words, you can't see, light and dark areas aren't as pronounced as you would see on this side. And that's very important when you're preparing for vapor blasting or getting any kind of light corrosion off of a part. You need to have a good viewing area. You can't have something that cuts down contrast like an etched window or, well, in this case, a screen. So I noticed what was happening here, so I decided to run a little test, and so I cut the screen in half so I could, being I'm left-handed, I tend to spray in this direction, and the reflected abrasive comes back up and hits this side of the glass. So I pretty much only need protection on this side. Then I would have the clear glass over here that I could still see my work and check it. So you can see here, this glass has been used for a couple months now, and typically I'd be changing it at this point, but you see it's not clouded on either side. It really works well. However, whenever I'm blasting, I find that I can't even use this side to look through as I'm blasting, because I can't tell a difference between the blasted finish and the non-blasted finish for the most part. It's very difficult. And then I have to keep dragging the part over here, looking over on this side to make sure that I got it. So it basically makes this, cuts down the contrast as if I hadn't had a screen there anyway and this is frosted. So I haven't found a real big advantage to putting the screen in here. So I'm going to take this screen off of here and show you how well it actually protected the glass, and I'll let you make your own decision on this, whether you want to use it or not. As you can see here, I didn't get real sophisticated about mounting this screen in here. I just used a staple gun and put it up here to keep so the installation was quick. I didn't really want to get into it and build a frame or anything. And I have some LEDs here are half burned out, they need replaced, but anyway, just some staples. I'm going to tear these out and show you the difference. And I marked the glass here with a Sharpie marker to show you the difference between having a screen and just it being bare. Now with that removed, you can see where the Sharpie markers or lines are at. There is a line, a definition here between where I didn't have it covered and where I did. And you can see it's clearer on the side where I did. Now ordinarily it would be this side, it would be much cloudier than this side. And you can see as it goes over here, there's a gradient from pretty much clear to getting a little bit cloudy. The lighting's not the best for looking at this, but I think you can see what I'm talking about. And the glass is fairly clear on both sides. I really can't complain. Now what I could do was turn this glass around, I suppose, to, so I could look through the left part, but for the most part it worked really well. Unfortunately, I had that problem with contrast, and I just couldn't see the part. And say if you're sandblasting a rusted part, you have red rust or black corrosion, whenever you take that off, you can see it pretty well. I mean, that's really not a big deal. So if you're doing general sandblasting, say if you're removing scale and rust from parts and you don't have a lot of dust, say if you're using a coarser mesh size, I think the screen is an excellent idea. But if you're using a fine abrasive like I use, and you really need to be picky about removing corrosion and any kind of stains that might be real light, because when you're vapor blasting or removing stains from an old casting, you have to be fairly, like I said, picky about getting all those stains and corrosions removed before you do your finishing work. So I don't really recommend it for that. But when it comes to heavy sandblasting and on ferrous parts that might be dark or red, and we don't need a whole lot of contrast, I think the screen is an excellent idea. The only thing is though, is you won't be able to wipe off your glass inside. You will have to use a blow nozzle or blow gun. Otherwise, especially with aluminum oxide, you won't be seeing anything. I mean, because it'll cover up within seconds. But I just wanted to show you that, to show you the results. Probably from now on I'm just going to go back to what I was using, and that was the 2 pieces of 1/8 inch glass without a screen. But had this not, well, after 2 months I definitely would have had to replace this glass by now, and as you can see, it's still pretty much like new. So that's just something I wanted to show you guys who do blasting. Maybe it's a tip you can use in the future. I'll talk to you guys later.